Hello everyone, we are going to talk about Algorand. We're going to do a exit plan. Why? I'm a small holder in Algorand. I'm going to explain why. But it has had one of the biggest declines in the bear market. It also has not delivered any real gains yet. But I'm actually impressed by it. Let me explain. Because very, very recently, I dabbled my little finger into the Algorand ecosystem. Never done it before. Had to learn a new ecosystem. Had to get a wallet, create a wallet to buy something on there. I will explain in a second why. But very, very impressed. And I think there's some huge potential here for some nice gains due to the fact of what's happened with the price. The price has dropped a lot. Now, let's talk about some details. Algorand, in terms of transactions per second and block time, is probably the best on the market by far. It's real time. Transaction per second is currently 563. That's high. That's decent. Record maximum that they've done is pretty much up there with probably the Hedra having the most at one point. Block time 3 seconds. It is fast. It is efficient. It is also very, very cheap. Now, the reason being, I had to go on and use the ecosystem to buy something. P Gold, Poker Gold. You've probably seen me talk about it on Twitter. I've never mentioned it on YouTube before. Here's me mentioning it. I bought it as a degen asset. It's done very well. Had to go and get myself a wallet. Had to put Algorand into it and then buy it. But this wallet is really good. And this goes on into other ecosystems. Why is Solana doing so well? Because it's a really easy wallet that allows you to, your granny can use it. Let's be honest, right? Algorand is the same, but no one knows about it, right? No one knows about it. There's also not very many good coins on Algorand at the moment, right? In my opinion, there's only one real decent legit one, and I think a lot of the Algorand community are struggling to understand why it's doing so well. It's because they don't understand the term liquidity. Get good assets, allow people to build good assets on Algorand, allow people to use what they've got in terms of pair a wallet, press a swap functionality, put Algorand in, swap it over, transactions. It works, right? This is a very, very good wallet. Probably my favorite, I'll be honest. Having used in the Polkadot wallets, doesn't have a swap feature. Having used the likes of MetaMask, get the idea. So I bought this very, very early on. And this is me just saying, not financial advice. Do what you want, right? But bought it very early on. It's done very well. It's now like a 5 million market cap coin. You can see when this website was created, it's 321. All about liquidity. Learn about liquidity. You'll know why it's doing well. There's not many good coins on Algorand. This is one of them, right? However, we are here to talk about exit plans. Now, going back of what I just said, there's ready-made functionality. There's ready-made speed, cheapness. It works very, very well. And as I say, the operating system is there for you to use it. Some assets don't have that, which puzzles me as to why this is doing so bad. Now, 25 cents, that red line there, is my average buy-in on my Patreon portfolio, right? On my Patreon, we decided a long, long time ago, we'll do 5 assets, $1,000 in each one, see how it does. This one has done the worst by far. Spoiler alert, Algorand is one of them, right? Average order, roughly around 25 cents, which is quite funny. However, there's a lot of potential here, as I just said, right? Let's talk about where this can go in the future. When you zoom out, it looks really bad, I know. Now, you can see when it got launched, and you can see it's had one big cycle, and it's had essentially one pretty crap bear market. But that gives us some food for thought. Now, obviously, we're going to go on the weekly time frame. I'm going to ignore this kind of weirdy wick. I'm going to just go from this point here because this is very, very odd. Because it doesn't really go anywhere. Like, let's be honest here, that is like such a random, even on the daily. So we're going to ignore that as a bit of a little glitch. But if you followed my videos before, I will look at this in 2 situations. I'll look at the fib and I will look at the overall key levels where it can go. Risk to reward on this is pretty high. Now, I've said this before, Patreon members will know this, Learning Crypto members will know this. I sometimes like to buy some really interesting assets that are quite good in terms of technology, but I've came out at a decent time or only had one cycle. What we've found in the past is sometimes when they've only had one cycle, they're not fully developed and they tend to do better in the second cycle. Cardano is a great example of this. You could even argue Ethereum, essentially. You can argue with quite a few, right? Where they've come out, they've done all right, then they do really good, then they do really bad, and then they do even better, right? Because they've developed, right? So when we talk about this, let's look at the fibs. I'm going to go from this point here, September time, all the way down to the floor, right? We've got a long way to go. Now, key levels. There's an obvious level here. You can see that obvious level here. How do you know this? Well, when you go to, I don't know, up to you how you want to do this really, let's be honest. I like to use a line chart because I like to see where the candles have closed. In terms of the USD pair, it's looking all right. There's a lot of room for maneuver and it's somewhat very exciting. I kind of thought we wouldn't go as low as we did, hence why I was buying. But at the same time, it's only a small amount of money. I do think there's a lot of potential here that I could create, potentially 10x here from my own bag, $1,000, which is huge. Not financial advice, but this is me kind of talking as I would. Now, my profit targets are very much simple. I'm going to explain what roughly they will be. This is an obvious level. $1, and if you were buying at say 10 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents, $1 isn't a bad place to go, you know what, might reward myself with 5, 10%. Kind of obvious, really. Now, the fundamentals of that is simple, and I get this question, like, why do you take profits? Because you've got to make money somewhere. And even if you're taking a TP of 10%, it's not going to really change much in terms of the overall loot if you are still being pretty good with it. Again, when we look at obvious levels, there's a really obvious level here. Now, just below this 618 kind of level where we've had a couple of closures in between this region where we've had resistance and this kind of level where we pulled back up, deviated below it, and then back up into another level of resistance and then melted. This kind of whole level here could be a very good area to go, you know what, $1.60, $1.50 kind of level. Probably take a little bit more off the table because that is quite a big run. Now, let me just show you the maths because this is quite important. If you're buying today and you're looking at that, that is still a 6x. That is quite a good amount of money in today's market, considering a lot of things have already popped. A lot of things have already popped. And the next obvious level where I'm thinking to myself, well, this is kind of a doozy, really, $2. Around that point. Now, for me, I would probably take a little bit more off the table there because I think that would, solidify a decent chunk, but it could run higher. Now, this is a thing. Coulds, maybe, speculation, I know. But the second cycle of a lot of assets, when they've got their things built, tend to do well. Now, the big problem is the elephant, let's just say, the elephant in the room, is the SEC has came after this a few times. I don't see why that is a problem. I do believe the ETF narrative is huge, but the SEC have been gunning for this quite a lot. This is probably why it's done pretty bad as well. That's kind of obvious. Now, overall, in my opinion, it's got all the technology to do well. It's got a great founder. It's been around for a decent chunk. It's okay in that front. Price action, as I say, probably has one of the most obvious potentials in terms of risk reward. Does it mean it's going to do it? No, but we need to look at the other side of it. That to me is what I would do myself. I would keep a bag to run for the future, right? It's kind of obvious that I will do that. I've learned the hard way with that regarding situation of let things run. So yeah, let it run. Now, if I think about logical terms, there might be a lot of gains here in the BTC pair. By the way, Patreon members, I will plonk this in the Patreon exit plan so you can kind of see what's happening. Kind of makes more sense. Anyways, Algorand BTC. Yes. I looked at this a while ago. Let's just start again. This looks horrible. Why? Never really got going. Now, obviously, ignore the obvious elephant here, which makes it hard to read the charts. Let's go to log scale so we can see the freaking thing. Now, obviously, the launch came out crazy numbers, melted, absolute melted. But there's a huge amount of potential here where we're going to look. I'm not going to do the fibs, I'm just going to do obvious key levels here because I think this is really important. Now, for me, the first big juicy level is obviously here. Now, this is where the risk is, right? There's a huge TP level here. Now, I'm not going to put percentages on this because obviously BTC pairs are very, very subjective. But if you are buying down here at these levels and you are not realizing a little bit of profit at this point here in the BTC pair, you probably should, because you're basically doubling and a bit your bag in BTC value, which is huge if you want to take some profit, obviously. Now, with that regarding said, you've also got to look at this obvious level here too, which is kind of a big, massive sticky point from the past in 2020, deviated below it. We know what happened there. And then back up into the situation when it went much higher in terms of the bull market. It actually had a bit of a bull market over the course of this period. This is on a weekly time frame. Obviously, that level there, kind of nice. Let's be honest here. I would probably jump at it if things kind of went to that point. 3x my BTC. I don't know what I'm going to do in my Patreon bag, by the way, in terms of like, am I going to sell into BTC? I'm going to sell into USD. Am I going to just buy a car? No, let's not think about that. You get the idea. But regarding this has got a lot of upside in terms of the BTC pair because of where it is. But the problem with the BTC pair is it might not go this high because of the past, because we don't know how, in terms of liquidity, how many tokens were out there. And obviously the market conditions in 2019 were very, very different for BTC as well, obviously early 2020 as well. But they're kind of obvious in terms of where to look at. So just be mindful. It'd be nice if it gets up here though first, for obvious reasons. But there we go. Anyways, let's be honest here. More coins, go on Algorand. It will probably do very, very well. If you like my content, please do leave a like and a subscription if you want to. Just press a little subscribe button. Feel free to. Anyways, there's a video coming up in a second on this side. Price predictions. Why not?